Hello, my name is Art Lloyd. I'm here to speak to you about an incident in our Justice Department which occurred to me. My background is that I'm a graduate of Howard University. I have a master's degree from the University District of Columbia. And I was working as a Deputy United States Marshal here in Washington, D.C. I should mention to you my home is New Rochelle, New York. But since I went to Howard University and graduated, I just accepted a job to government here in Washington, D.C. As a deputy marshal, you know, we take on the job anywhere in the United States of the sheriff's department if they don't have a sheriff's department. So that's what we had to do here in Washington. It wasn't very popular because it included evictions and so forth. Eviction process is when people have their things put out on the street for failure of rent. And that's not popular with the community. And remember, at the time I was in Washington, 70s, 80s, 90s, they were Washington majority black city. Majority low income to moderate income families. Only 98% of the well-to-do families were Caucasian or white, as you know. And as you know, that holds for most of America. Wherever you go, you will find a black ghetto anywhere in America. Usually the income is poverty level or below on the average. You probably can count the people on your hand who are higher income or considered higher income individuals that are of the African American descent. But the issue here I want to talk about today is that I'm going to be publishing a book. It's going to be about the injustice in the United States Justice Department. Primarily that injustice is directed toward the African American. As you know, we were the slaves here in America. I'm going to close this door so that the flies don't get in. Okay, in the house, because they certainly will. But I'm going to continue. The history of the African American here in the United States is that we were slaves for 300 years. They technically say the first ships came in 1619, Jamestown, Virginia. I'm sure there were some others that may have, another one I understand that may have hit a little bit further downriver. But they had slaves on them. But once they reached the shore and the people were in desperate need of food and whatnot, they, as I understand, set the slaves free. Because they just couldn't have slaves. Slaves could run away and nobody to catch them. So what has happened is slavery and segregation of the slaves, oppression of the slaves in America continued from that time on, as you know, from 1619. Supposedly the Emancipation Proclamation 1863 by President Abraham Lincoln was to set the slaves free here in America. As you know, it on paper it did, but of course, when you have a people that they don't have any money, they were working for free for 300 years, and you tell them, okay, now you can go. Well, where do they go? They go on the streets. Got nowhere to live. And they were harassed, and some of them continuously raped, beaten by the larger population of whites, primarily southern whites, because most of the slavery was in the South, or the southern part of America. As we tried to develop, many blacks migrated to the North, I guess in the early 1900s, 1910, 1915, 1920. Trying to come north to get some freedom, because in the South they had absolutely no freedom. They couldn't own anything. Well, they had no money to own anything. The few that were lucky enough to have money, such as Jefferson's a handmaid that he would have sexual relations with, and a number of children. He gave her a house, and there were probably some whites that did give some of the blacks, slaves, a home, a little home or something that they may have owned when freedom came. That's probably how most of the black people got their homes. My book is going to, while I am a history major at Howard University, from Howard University, I'm really not going to dwell much on the history. I was just giving you a background of slaves in America and what we've come through. Now that we've supposedly emancipated, we were all in the low income brackets, and 90% of us remained in the low income brackets. And that is poor, minimum amount of income. We were paid the minimum amount of income for our work. So we remained in that category. Yes, today there are opportunities. And so we're going to skip forward to that modern day period, after blacks migrated from the south to the north. You have to remember we were still paid the lowest of the wages. And many oftentimes could not even get a job because the prejudice and discrimination that existed in this country. You see, when you told people that you have a group of people to be slaves, then those people's mindset, they begin to look down on those people and say, you were the slaves. Here you are now trying to make something of yourself. So there was a lot of resistance we got from white America. As time grew on, some of the white Americans that were predominantly Christian, believed in God and the principles of God, understood that slavery was wrong. And so they would not participate in it. And blacks, as you know, had to demonstrate and march for many, many years. Many were killed in the civil rights movement to try just to get some rights for blacks to be able to get a job, get equal pay, which they really have not gotten, except on the lower levels, and try to make a home for themselves and a living. Well, many of us would do that. As a part of my graduation from Howard University, I accepted a job here at the United States Marshal Service in Washington, D.C. I was, while at Glencoe Law Enforcement Training Academy in Glencoe, Georgia, trained there for 13 and a half weeks. At the end of my training, the Secret Service recruiter came to me and asked if I wanted to go into the Secret Service. I would have loved to, and he brought that to my attention when I first started down there. But after 13 and a half weeks, believe me, I was exhausted and tired of training. And I wasn't interested in doing 16 and a half more weeks. And then another 7 and a half weeks and 3 months after that. That was the Secret Service training format. So when you're young, you don't think too far in the future. So I accepted the Marshal Service job. I became a Deputy U.S. Marshal here in Washington, D.C. The problem we had was our office was 90% black employees, deputy marshals. Thanks to former Judge Luke Moore, who was deliberately recruiting blacks for the job because he said all the other positions of authority, law enforcement in Washington were predominantly white. And the city was, at that time, at least 65% black. But all of the predominant jobs in the law enforcement were 90% white. And so he wanted to change that. He recruited a lot of deputy U.S. marshals from the military, U.S. Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marines. So we worked the Superior Court and the U.S. District Court. I had eventually, as I came on in 1980, I could see the difference in the treatment of blacks and whites. Being from the North, being from New York, you could see that very clearly. But I didn't want to, as they say, rock the boat. I was trying to accept what was going on here in Washington. And Washington was segregated most parts, and in some parts it's still segregated today. Ward 3 area always been all white. They made the houses unaffordable for black people, so blacks would have to move elsewhere. And they always kept a little enclave of only whites because they were able to afford it. They were paid the salaries that could afford the high-priced housing. Of course, if we look today, 2019, those houses that were once $100,000 are now $1 million, $1.5 million. Some even raising up to $2 million. And you and I know that the average black American is not going to have an income in that area. But what I want to talk about in my book is the fact that I had an incident in Montgomery County, which is a horribly segregated and racist county here in Maryland. It's a rich county, one of the richest counties in Maryland, but it is one of the most racist too. I had a night taking my ex-wife to the Toys R Us to get my daughter, Melissa, who now lives with me, to the Toys R Us in Rockville, get a princess costume. I was followed and attacked by a young white fella, who we later found out was drunk, was in the Navy, home on leave, and for some reason he chose me out of all the cars to follow. I believe it was racism. It was racism. Very few, if any, blacks I saw that night. If I can recall even seeing one. At that time, Rockville was June, No, it was October 28th, 2004, a few days before Halloween. And I was going to get a Halloween costume. My ex-wife was a little pushy at the time. Come on, let's go get the children. I just got home from work, didn't really feel like doing much. Tried to get undressed, and, so I threw on some jeans and a leather jacket. I retained my U.S. Marshal issue service weapon, and I just went out. Didn't have my handcuffs, anything like that. So, we just went shopping. Now, why this young white fella decided to attack me, I believe it was nothing but white racism. The judge, prosecutors, Gansler and McCarthy, both pretended, it wasn't racism, it wasn't white racism. Even the lawyer that I finally got, Dave Sanford, was supposed to be assisting me because he was from Montgomery County. He got a fella named Helfand. Among the whites, Helfand was fine, but among the blacks, we felt that from the blacks I've talked to, was the kind of lawyer that would throw you, make a deal behind your back, throw you, make you do a few years in jail and make it, look like he was really representing you. And that's what they were used to. This was the old Southern way of dealing with black people. That's why the jails today in Maryland are predominantly black, although we're only about 35, 36, 37% of the state's population. Our jails are 63, 64, 65% black. Some of them, Southern Maryland, boy, places like that, Hagerstown, they're about 70% black, maybe 75%. But anyway, that's the story. But what happened, my book is going to talk about the injustice I received as I was taking the kids to the Toys R Us. I had this white fella follow me in the middle of the night. My ex-wife said, stop the car and find out what's wrong. So I stopped the car to ask him what was wrong. He runs up to the car talking about, you the guy that sideswiped me. I don't know who sideswiped him, but I know I'm black, and the rest of the people out there were white, so I guess he just figured it must have been me. Or whether he was even ever sideswiped, I don't know, because he had a Bluetooth in his ear, and he continued to have it in his ear the whole night. I really don't know. I don't understand that. Somebody that was supposed to be so upset. What happened was he rushed up to me, said I was the guy that sideswiped his car. I said, no, it wasn't me. I said, you want to show me where I hit your car? And as we go to do that, he turns all the way around, 360 degrees, and punches me in the face. Tries to put one of those, I guess he was training to be a Navy SEAL or something in the Navy, and he got hurt. He wants to put one of those moves on me using my hands or something, and he breaks my thumb and breaks my pinky. Prosecutor lady says, oh, you probably broke it when you fell down. Well, I don't think so. I think he was making up an excuse for the majority white jury to use. This guy attacks me. I have no idea why. I tell him I'm a federal marshal. Before he even when he comes up to the car yelling, I tell him I'm a federal marshal. That's before he even did anything. He doesn't pay it any attention. In fact, neither does all the white witnesses in Montgomery County. They claim they claim they saw me hold something shiny up in the air, but they didn't know what it was. In fact, it was my badge, my U.S. Marshal badge. And it's interesting how people will accept this kind of racism and go on as if nothing happened. And I'm here to tell you, I'm taking off my glasses because I want you to see, to understand. I'm a simple person. I'm 5'9". This man that attacked me was 6'2" or 6'3". Trained, a Navy man. I guess training to be a Navy SEAL. Now, what in the world would I be out there fighting somebody like this for in front of my children? Absolutely outrageous. I've been in the Marshal Service for 24 years and about 8 or 9 months. I was getting ready to retire in a few months. And never even had to use my pistol. Never even had to use my U.S. Marshal issue pistol. Except this time. They act like I was the worst guy in the world, but that was the white racism. I understand what it was. White people in their heart know what I'm talking about, but they're not going to admit it. Gansford, McCarthy, they had a white policeman that shot a unarmed black person in Tacoma Park. He only got a few years. I mean, if he got any time, most of them were let off. I think he got probation. It's just an unbelievable thing. My sentence was 25 years when the jury convicted me. And they convicted me because what happened, I had to, as this guy drove his car at me, I had to shoot him because I had to protect my life. Now, with the Quan McDonald case in Chicago, notice the white jurors and all said, why the policeman was he was fearing for his life. McDonald, the black guy, they say he's on PCP, but regardless of that, he was walking away from the police. So why would you then shoot the man 16 times? Now the man I shot, his vehicle drove toward me, so I jumped out of the way and I'm shooting. Of course I'm shooting. I shot the back light out. I shot the back window out on purpose because I knew the policeman stopped the car then. Because he was trying to get away. And I aimed at his arm because his arm was protruding out of the car as he was driving. Because I figured if I could wound him, he'd have to go to the stop to get to the hospital. But then that my thumb and my pinky were broken, folks, the nerves in there was painful all the way up the whole hand. Couldn't hold my weapon steady enough. And so it hit him up in the shoulder. Top shoulder went down into his lungs and into his lungs. And that's what killed him. It was not a deliberate shot in the back. Anybody can tell you that. But they didn't want anybody to tell you that. They didn't allow certain of my witnesses to be called. In fact, none of my witnesses that I asked for was ever called during this trial. That's why we have to look at it and say, wait a minute. This is the American justice system. I didn't even get a chance to call my witnesses. The Fourth Amendment says the defendant has a right to call the witnesses of his choice. I didn't have that right. Nobody has said anything about that. In fact, my case is down in Annapolis, the capital of Maryland. Stored away, curium, per curiam, or something they call it. That means the opinion is off the records. What was so secretive that they had to put everything off the records about me? The fact of the matter was I was railroaded, and there are a lot of blacks that are railroaded. I was making an arrest as a police officer because the man was out of control and he had attacked me. The witnesses claimed I wasn't. The lawyer I had, Barry Helfand, never even called my witnesses. In fact, may we stop for a moment because I need to say I got something on the stove. Thank you. We can resume. Mommy saved the day. It was water. But anyway, I'm going to cut this interview short. The nature of my book is in reference to the trial and how I was mistreated. And I want people to see it because we need to know that we have a justice system in America that has oppressed the black Americans, the people that they considered the slaves in America. They've oppressed us on every count. Unless you have some money, you may can get through that kind of thing. But for most blacks, like myself, wind up in jail. I had to do 10 years straight in jail. There's not one white policeman that has shot any of those 30, 40 unarmed black people in the last 10 years. Been in prison for 10 years. I'm black and I'm the only one that went in prison and had to do 10 years in prison. For a man that attacked me while I was with my children and my ex-wife. And there's no man in the world that's going to let you attack him and his children, and he's not going to do anything. But you see, folks, you got to understand one basic thing, no matter who you are. You've got your children with you, your family with you. Somebody attacks you. In the back of your mind, you want to protect your children and your ex-wife. That's your family. And that's what you're going to do. I don't care whether you're a pygmy, Watusi, Eskimo, or live in Asia, or whoever you are, you're going to do that because that's the law of nature, that's the law of man. So I'm going to write the book about the trial and how unfair it was. But it's a typical trial of how black people are being treated in America. And I want you to read it and understand it as that. That's the injustice. I'm very sorry that even the blacks in the media kind of shunned me. But that's because I believe they didn't want to offend their white advertisers. Because what I had to say is that the system doesn't work for black people. And even Spanish people of color, they're having a hard time. The white ones can slip by because they can pretend they're white. Because America's a racist, white racist country, so you gotta understand that. That's why people come here from all over India and everywhere. They didn't want to associate with blacks because they know we were the slaves. It's the same in their country in India. The original people, the untouchables, they're the original people of India. They live in Ceylon, southern India. They're considered untouchable because of their caste system they have in India, which is really a racist system also, influenced by the European, without a doubt. But that's the history, and we see that this goes on all over the world. And so, but I want to make it plain, and I'm going to put it in a book. And even if I have to publish it myself, I'm sure there are no runners coming to publish this book, because nobody wants to hear why the prison system in America is 70% black. Nobody wants to hear that in minorities. Maybe even 75% black, even though the majority of the country is white. So that's what I'll be talking about. You can call it what you want to call it. I'm going to call it the plain truth. The plain truth about our system. Okay, thank you very much.